I was pushed down the stairs by Fu Yu and his ex-wife's daughter, causing me to miscarry. When I woke up, Fu Yu was sitting by my hospital bed working, and he took a moment to say to me, "I'll have Duan come and apologize to you in person." I said, "Is that enough?" He finally looked up from his papers. "Otherwise what? She should kneel and kowtow. Or do you want my daughter to pay with her life for a pool of blood?" So he really never cared about the child in my belly. After all, he had promised his ex-wife that Duan would be his only child. The day I found out I was pregnant, he wasn't happy like I was. He stayed in the study all night, smoking with a heavy brow. Thinking of this, I looked at him and asked softly, "Are you relieved that the child is gone?" Fu seemed not to understand what I said. "What?" I stared at the blanket that smelled of disinfectant. "Isn't that the case? The day I told you I was pregnant, you probably wished I would have it aborted." That day was when Cheng Yao, his ex-wife, came to visit their daughter. At the dinner table, when the woman learned I was pregnant, her face turned pale, and she threw her bowl. After dinner, she argued with Fu Yu in the study. "Have you forgotten what you promised me? You said you'd only have Duan as your child in this life. So why is she pregnant, Fu Yu?" Fu Yu's voice was as cold as ever. "I thought you understood that I divorced you just to avoid these quarrels." Cheng Yao fell silent, and after a moment, soft sobs seeped through the crack in the door. I leaned against the wall outside the study. The joy I'd felt upon learning I was pregnant that morning now completely drained. Cheng Yao cried, "Duan is already sensitive. He's become more withdrawn since our divorce. If he has to share his father's love, do you have any idea how much it will hurt him?" After a long silence, Fu Yu said, "Let me think about it." That night, Fu Yu never left the study, smoking all night long. Until dawn, I was having breakfast. When I saw him come out, I gripped my spoon tightly. "Aren't you going to eat before heading to the office? The housekeeper leaves after making breakfast. Let me fry you a sandwich to take." I stood up hastily, flustered, stumbling over the chair. Fu Yu caught my arm and smoothly lifted me, placing me on the couch. "I have a meeting this morning, and it's almost time." I quietly nodded, and a few seconds later, he rubbed the back of my head and said, "Don't overthink it. Just take care of yourself and the baby." He was clearly trying to comfort me, but his brows were heavy as if he was facing something extremely troublesome. "The day I told you I was pregnant, you were probably hoping I would get rid of it." As soon as the words left my mouth, a faint smile curled at the corner of Fu Yu's lips. "So that's how you see me." My eyes stung, but I stubbornly held his gaze. Fu Yu stood up, looking down at me from his height. "I think you need some time to calm down. Things are busy at the company lately, so I'll have the nanny take care of you. I won't come by for now." The hospital door opened and then closed again. The blazing white sunlight streamed through the window, casting onto the floor. The room was so quiet that I could almost hear the sound of dust particles drifting in the beam of light. I placed my hand back on my lower abdomen, feeling as if there was a void, leaving only silence. I didn't move, my whole being empty along with it. The nurse told me to go upstairs for a checkup. I opened the door and stepped out, and at the corner of the hallway, I heard the voices of Fu Yu and his sister. "Even though you married her because she was good to Duan, she wasn't the only one who treated him well. She must be special to you, so can't you at least talk to her nicely instead of always being cold?" Fu Yu dismissed it lightly, saying he would have married anyone the same. He just didn't feel like picking at the time. If he had known she was so fixated on having a child, he should have married someone else. The nurse tapped my shoulder and said, "Why are you still standing here? Go to your checkup." The siblings turned around at the sound. Fu Yu was still upset with me, so he couldn't even be bothered to greet me. He glanced at me and walked straight off. His sister quickly helped me up. Sister-in-law, I'll go with you for the checkup." "Thank you." Just now, what my brother said was just out of anger. You know he's never been good at expressing himself, but he definitely likes you. Last time, he worked non-stop overtime for 3 days straight at the London branch just to free up 1 day for your birthday, she explained on Fu Yu's behalf. "My brother's just been in a bad mood lately. He's taking the loss of the child hard, and besides, to get Duan to come and apologize to you, Cheng Yao and I argued for a long time. Cheng Yao insisted that Duan didn't mean it and that an apology was unnecessary. So, sister-in-law, I hope you won't hold it too much against her. We just happened to arrive at the examination room door. I'll go in first." Okay, I'll wait for you outside, sister-in-law. I lay down on the recliner waiting for the examination. She mentioned that my birthday was 2 months ago. I had thought Fuyu was still on a business trip in London, but he appeared before me without any warning. Even now, I still remember the surprise and the racing heart from that moment, yet I don't know why I can no longer feel the same way as I did back then. I stayed in the hospital for a week. During that time, Fuyu indeed didn't show up again. A sudden emotional lethargy made me no longer care, as I used to, about whether Qingyao would use this chance to get close to Fuyu under the pretext of visiting Duanduan. After being discharged and returning home, Fuyu was still at the office. I pushed open the door and met the gaze of Duanduan, who was sitting on the sofa watching TV. The 5-year-old girl couldn't hide her emotions. She tensed up instantly, and her small hands seemed to be clutching something. I lowered my eyes and went back to my room. I think I can no longer treat her without any reservations like before. Cheng Yao came in the afternoon. She threw the empty suitcase onto the living room floor and started packing things. The nanny quickly stopped her. Miss Chung, what are you doing? I'm taking Duanduan to stay with me for a while. Someone lost their own child by accident and wants to blame mine. No one is going to make my daughter suffer. If Fuyu has any complaints, tell him to come to me. Duanduan stood there without speaking, still clutching that unknown thing in her hand. The nanny appealed to me. Madam, say something. Quickly tell her that you'll treat Duanduan well like before. Sir instructed that she cannot take Duanduan away. Duanduan looked up at me with her dark, bright eyes. Maybe it was my imagination, but I thought I saw a glimmer of expectation in her eyes. Let her take her. I really don't want to see her these days, anyway. The next second, a crisp sound of glass breaking rang in my ears. The thing in Duanduan's hand fell to the ground. It must have been made of ceramic, now shattered beyond recognition. She crouched down to pick it up, but Cheng Yao held her back. What is it? A toy? If it's broken, it's broken. Mom will buy you a new one. Cheng Yao looked at me with a forced smile. Duanduan is Fuyu's daughter. She will always be by his side. If you don't want to see her, you have no choice unless you divorce Fuyu. I looked at her and shot back. You keep urging me to divorce him because you want to remarry him, don't you? The woman flushed with anger and snapped. What nonsense. Like Fuyu, she had a bad temper, so after their marriage, they fought constantly and eventually divorced. Now provoked by me, her personality dictated that she should have launched into a full-blown argument. Duanduan took her hand, looking at no one. Mom, take me away, she said. Cheng Yao and Duanduan left. The housekeeper cleaned up the fragments on the floor, but it was hard to tell what they were. For the past 2 days, Duanduan had been clutching them in her hand, even holding them while she slept. During the days I stayed home to recover, Fuyu never returned. I didn't see him at the company either. I'm just a junior staffer in his company. No one knows about our relationship. At lunch break, someone mentioned him. Could President Fu be planning to remarry Director Chung? I mean, the two of them have been on a trip with the kid for days without coming back. Clearly, they're getting along well. I stared blankly at the computer screen, realizing that Fuyu had gone out with Cheng Yao and the others again. The person who spoke had Cheng Yao on WeChat, pulled up her moments to show us, the location tagged at Disneyland Orlando with a 9-grid photo layout. A few were group shots of 3 people, looking like a cozy family of 3. The last one was a live photo where a passerby bumped into Cheng Yao's shoulder, and Fuyu instinctively held her steady. Everyone clicked their tongues in admiration, saying, "The power couple I ship has come to life." Despite all the beautiful women in the company, I still think only Director Chung and CEO Fu are the best match. That tension of equals battling it out is perfectly embodied in them. A colleague nudged my arm and said, "Sinmi, put down your phone. Tell me, am I right? Aren't they perfect for each other?" The last message in my chat with Fuyu was still from before my miscarriage. We hadn't contacted each other once in over half a month. I didn't know if other people's marriages were like this, but I was suddenly tired of this marriage that felt like being a widow. I turned off my phone, looked up at the photo of the family of 3 and softly echoed, "Yeah, they do match." I decided to divorce Fuyu. Another week had passed, and Fuyu and the others returned to the country. Fuyu's personal assistant pointed at me and said, "You, Sinmi, come with me to pick up CEO Fu and the others." At the airport, when Fuyu saw me, his gaze paused for a second. Duanduan also looked at me and blinked. The assistant left me the slightly lighter luggage cart, but it was still quite heavy. Midway, the top few small suitcases fell off. I crouched down to pick them up while apologizing. Sorry. A pair of custom-made, high-end leather shoes appeared before me. It was Fuyu. Chengyao also came up, glanced down at me, and said, "Clumsy. Be more careful." Then she said to Fuyu, "All right, stop looking. Let her handle it herself. Duan might be tired from walking. You carry her." The leather shoes and high heels walked out of sight one after another. The luggage was loaded into the car. The assistant drove, and I sat in the passenger seat. He started talking casually. "Director Chung really has a unique presence. I've been with President Fu for over half a year, and I've never seen anyone who looks as perfectly matched with him just by standing together. This feels like a reconciliation in the making. He must have heard the rumor that Fuyu and Chengyao are about to remarry, so he's trying to curry favor." Then he turned to me and asked, "Xiaocen, don't you think so?" Called out, I glanced into the rearview mirror. Met Fuyu's emotionless gaze. Before I could answer, Chengyao chimed in with a laugh.
"Don't talk nonsense.
A man like President Fu has long since lost interest in someone like me. The more successful a man's career, the more he favors the young and gentle type." The assistant clicked his tongue. "Those are just trophy wives, nothing like you." "Uncle," Duan interrupted him. "I want to go to sleep," he said impatiently. "Oh, Duan, do you want Uncle to recline your seat so you can lean back and sleep?"
No.
"It's that you're a bit noisy." For the rest of the ride, the assistant stayed quiet, looking sheepish. Duan had come along to the company. She occasionally comes by our floor for a stroll. Everyone, men and women alike, loves to tease her. Not just because she's Fuyu's daughter. She really is adorable. But she rarely talks to any of them. Whenever I glance over, I often catch her staring at me. Then she quickly looks away. After finishing a task, I got up to get some water. As soon as I entered the break room, I was splashed with coffee. It was Manager Lee from our department. He let out an ah and said, "Sorry about that, Sin. I wasn't paying attention." He pulled out 2 tissues and reached toward me. "Let me wipe it off for you, let me wipe it off." I kept backing away. "No need, Manager, I can handle it myself." Manager Lee stepped closer. "What's the big deal? Look here, you can't see it and you can't clean it properly." A second before he touched me, I shoved him hard. I said I can handle it myself. He laughed. "What's with the innocent act? I have a friend working at the city hospital. He saw you check in for miscarriage. As far as I know, you're not even married yet. Everyone's just playing around. Why can't I? If you make me happy, I might throw you a little convenience at the office now and then. Isn't that good enough?" His murky eyes roamed over me. I clenched my hand, then finally raised it and slapped him across the face. He clearly hadn't expected I'd actually hit him. "Fuck, you bitch." Just as he raised his hand to slap back, a cup of water was poured over his head from above. My gaze shifted to behind him. Duan stood there on the chair, expressionless, holding the cup. Manager Lee was about to curse, but when he turned and saw it was Duan, he immediately put on a different face. "Oh, it's Duan. Why did you pour water on Uncle?" Duan shook the cup and splashed the last remaining drops onto his face. "You splashed her, so I can splash you too." After saying that, she slowly climbed down from the chair. She trotted out, shouting, Daddy, come out quick." This blew up. A crowd of people were secretly watching outside our department door. Duan pointed at Manager Lee. "He splashed her." She glanced at me. At first, she called me big sister. But after learning that I was going to marry her father, she never addressed me by any name again. She paused, then continued, "She poured coffee all over this, big sister." And he kept trying to hug big sister. Fuyu's gaze was fixed unblinkingly on Manager Lee. As he approached, he exuded the oppressive aura of a superior. "You harassed a female employee." Manager Lee was sweating profusely. "I'm sorry, President Fu, it might not be harassment." Another voice cut in, interrupting him. Chengyao approached, smiling. "There's no surveillance in the break room, so how can you be sure it was harassment?" "Maybe it's in me misunderstood." Manager Lee quickly chimed in. "That's right, I didn't harass her. I just accidentally spilled coffee on her and wanted to hand her a couple of tissues." He looked at me with righteous indignation. "Little Tsun, don't slander me. I have a wife, and everyone in the company knows that old Lee is a man of integrity. You don't have a boyfriend, yet you had a miscarriage out of nowhere not long ago. If you're unclean yourself, don't drag me into it. He deliberately raised his voice on the last sentence, causing more people to look over. All kinds of complicated gazes felt like needles on her back. Duan Duan lifted her head and shouted at him. I clearly saw you. You kept wanting to hug her. Manager Li smiled. Kids often talk nonsense, it's normal. Fuyu looked at Cheng Yao for 2 seconds before saying to Manager Li, Sinmi is married. I approved her marriage leave. Besides, what's the direct connection between a miscarriage and a messy private life? You harass female employees and then try to frame them? Being married doesn't prove that old Li harassed her, does it? Cheng Yao interrupted him again and lowered her voice. Only Fuyu and I could hear. Old Li is currently following up on an important project. No one can replace him. Don't act on impulse. Besides, it's uncertain whether he really harassed her. Otherwise, let's drop it for now. If you're really partial to your little wife, at most give her a few good projects. In the few seconds of Fuyu's silence, I had already guessed his choice. I wouldn't say I was disappointed. After all, I never expected him to stand up for me from the start. Even though he clearly knew Manager Li had been handsy with me, he still chose to make me suffer for the company's interests. Fuyu spoke again, his voice much colder now. Let's set aside the harassment for now. Spreading baseless rumors about a colleague's personal life without evidence. Forget about your year-end bonus. Then he turned to me, his thin lips parting slightly. I'll continue investigating the harassment. I'll give you an explanation as soon as possible. He glanced at the large coffee stain on my collar. He took off his jacket and started walking toward me. I stepped back. Thank you, Mr. Fu. I'll go change first. He stopped, his hand dropping as he gave a low. The company's basement floor was a recreational area for employees. There was a pool and shower rooms. I grabbed the spare clothes I had left at the company and headed to the basement to shower and change out of my dirty clothes. Just as I finished changing and was about to go dry my hair, I saw a small figure tiptoeing in. I only pulled the changing room door open a crack. Duan Duan didn't see me. She was holding her milky yellow thermos, her eyes searching around. Finally, she tiptoed and placed the thermos on the counter closest to the hairdryer. I pulled the door open and walked closer. Duan Duan, she jumped, startled. Turning back to see me looking at her water cup, she pushed it toward me and mumbled. Granny Tang said if my clothes get wet, I'll catch a cold. I need to drink some hot milk. Granny Tang was the household helper. After saying that, she ran out. I was still standing there stunned when the little girl quietly cracked the door open again. She rubbed against the doorframe as she came in, head lowered. Do you absolutely hate me now? The toe of her little leather shoe shifted. Even if I say I didn't push you on purpose, you still won't believe me, right? The room fell silent. I said softly, but I heard you ask Granny Tang how to make me lose the baby. That was the truth. She clenched her little chubby hands hanging by her sides. Think what you want, I'm just bad, okay? She ran off again, but the faint sob escaping her voice still echoed in the changing room. My gaze fixed on the thermos. Reliving the day I least wanted to remember. After getting pregnant, my morning sickness was very severe. I felt so sick that I barely had any strength. The nanny, Aunt Tang, cooked the meal and brought it up to my room on the second floor. I noticed she hadn't brought a spoon. I wanted to go downstairs and get one myself. Just as I stepped out of the room, I heard Duan Duan's childish voice asking, Is she throwing up again? Yes, Duan Duan. Ma'am's morning sickness is really severe. If this continues, her body will only get weaker. Sigh. Duan Duan's brow furrowed. Is there any way to make that thing inside her disappear? I didn't like it anyway, so just make it go away. Let it disappear. My fingertips trembled, and the door swung open. Hearing the noise, Duan Duan turned and trotted toward me. Why did you come out? Are you feeling unwell again? Do you need my help? When she reached out to me, I instinctively protected my stomach and stepped back. She immediately stopped in her tracks and stared at me in shock. After a moment, she seemed to understand something. Mom was right after all. All your kindness to me was fake. Now that you're going to have your own child, you can't be bothered to pretend anymore, right? Emotions flickered in her eyes. You said you know I'm a good kid, but then why are you avoiding me? You obviously think I'm bad, just like everyone else. You think I would hurt you, don't you? To me, I hate you. I hate you the most. I'm going to find Mom. With that, she tried to run downstairs. It was still raining heavily outside. I caught up to her and stopped her. "No, Duan, I didn't. Don't touch me." She pushed me hard. I lost my balance and stumbled back several steps. Behind me was the staircase. I missed the railing, missed my step, and fell down. Before I lost consciousness, I saw Duan running toward me in panic. She even fell once midway. Sister Ami." My thoughts returned. I unscrewed the thermos, steam rising from the milk. There were still some milk stains around the rim. She must have heated it and poured it into the cup herself. I had always thought before that even if Duan didn't push me intentionally, she genuinely wished for the child in my belly to be gone. So I held a grudge against her. Now I began to reconsider the reason she wanted my child to disappear. After work in the evening, I received a call from Fuyu after a long time. The background noise on the other end was chaotic, and he didn't speak. "Do you have something to say? If not, I'll hang up."
He still didn't speak.
I hung up, and he called again. After repeating this a few times, I understood what he meant. I sighed in resignation. "Send me the address. I'll come pick you up." Fuyu was probably drunk. When drunk, he was especially clingy with me. He didn't show it on the surface, but if I left him for a few minutes, he would search everywhere for me. His sister had seen how clingy he was before and said bitterly, "When people get old, the empty nest syndrome kicks in. Be understanding of an old man afraid of loneliness, sister-in-law." Actually, Fuyu is only older than me by 5 years. On the message screen, Fuyu's dialogue box suddenly jumped to the top. I tapped it and rushed to the club according to the address. On the way, I rolled the window all the way down, letting the cold wind pour in. I wanted to file for divorce. I couldn't wait another day. Pushing open the private room door, a woman in a spaghetti-strapped short skirt was squatting in front of Fuyu. She suggestively touched the lighter by his hand. "Mr. Fu, I'll polish the lighter with my lips. Do you want to watch my performance?" Fuyu wasn't as cold and noble as during the day. His tie was balled up and thrown aside, the top 2 buttons of his collar undone, slightly disheveled. He leaned back in the booth and looked up at me. He asked the woman, and she turned around. "This is my wife." The woman gave an awkward smile, stood up, and left. Fuyu's younger sister was also there. "My sister-in-law. Today is a birthday party for one of my brother's friends." Don't worry, my brother was completely well-behaved. No woman even touched a single thread of his clothes. But more than that, my attention was fixed on his right hand, slightly swollen with bloody scratches on the knuckles. Such marks of violence seemed especially jarring on Fuyu. Fuyu's sister noticed and said, "I heard about what happened today too. My brother waited in the parking lot all afternoon, and as soon that bastard surnamed Lee came out, he beat him up with his head covered. My brother hasn't fought since high school, first time breaking that rule in years. All for you."
I didn't know what to say.
I took a step closer and asked, "Heading home?" He gave a feint and suddenly took my hand, standing up. The drive home was silent. But just as we entered the door, before we could turn on the lights, he pinned me against the wall. "Still going to be mad at me?" His thin lips pressed against my earlobe. "It's just a child, isn't it? If you want one, we'll have another. Is it me who can't have kids, or you who can't? Was it worth holding out on me this long?" Before Fuyu could make his next move, I slowly spoke. "Fuyu, let's get a divorce." The kiss on my neck didn't go any further. He paused for a moment, then lifted his head, staring at me intently. Then he stepped back a few paces and leaned against the wall. Lowering his gaze, he took out a cigarette and lit it. When he spoke again, his eyes had regained their clarity. "I thought you knew I never yield to threats like this." The smoke curled around his brows and eyes, making him look even more distant and cold. "I'm serious." The cigarette between his fingers paused.
"Why?"
Fuyu's phone suddenly rang. When he saw the caller, his expression turned even more indifferent. "Fuyu, you need to come over tonight." It was Chung Yao's voice. "Duan has a homework assignment to film a video with his parents. School starts tomorrow, and it will be played in class." Fuyu asked her, "Do you know what time it is now?" Chung Yao sneered, "Am I disturbing you and your little wife's nightlife?"
Fine, don't come.
It's just that the class will find out Duan is from a single-parent family and get mocked. How could that compare to Boss Fu spending quality time with his wife, right? Fuyu didn't waste many words with her. He just said, "I'm coming over now." He hung up, then brushed past me to pull the door handle. I called out to him, Fu Yu, this is the reason. The reason I want to divorce you, he retorted. Didn't you know I had a child when you married me? After saying that, he gave me a bland look and closed the door as he left. I remained leaning by the door, still in the same posture as before he left. The only light source in the vast living room was the faint moonlight filtering through the windows. This scene was not unfamiliar to me. Before, every month Duan would spend a few days at Chengyao's place. Every time that happened, Chengyao would find very good reasons to make Fu go over and keep them company. I would be alone in the somewhat empty villa, just like now, so quiet that I could hear my own breathing. He thought I was filing for divorce because I minded Duan. In fact, his lingering ties with Chengyang were the main reason. Perhaps because they had been married for 3 years, he always had a trace of reluctance towards Chengyao. Because he couldn't bear to reject her, he always chose to leave me behind. That night, Fu didn't come back. I no longer tried to probe where he spent the night or ask what he and Chengyao had done, like I used to. Even when he and Chengyao arrived at the company together the next day, I felt no stir in my heart. My colleagues clicked their tongues repeatedly. They spend the night together. There's no doubt they'll get remarried, right? All bets are in. Everyone, let's guess how long until they announce their remarriage. Several people in the group gathered together, teasing. I bet a week. I bet half a month.
I think it won't be that fast.
I bet 3 months. A colleague who was closer to me gave me a wink. How long do you bet, me? I curled my lips. I don't know. Just guess, it's for fun. I was half pushed and half pulled over by a few people. Thinking about it, Guang He and I have a 1-month divorce cooling off period. And waiting for them to rekindle their old flame would probably take another month or 2 to develop. So I casually said, then I'll guess 3 months too. As the words fell, the smiles of the few people around me simultaneously faded. They lowered their heads, looking awkward and silent. A cool voice sounded from above my head. Quite idle, aren't you? I turned around. Fu Yu swept his gaze over the others and finally asked me, have you finished today's work? I pursed my lips tightly. Not yet. He hummed an acknowledgement, casually picked up the documents on my desk, and flipped through them. Then the tasks must be too easy, leaving you with enough free time to bet on your boss behind his back. You can clock out after 12. Tonight as a lesson. Is there a problem? A colleague hesitated to speak. It was me who pulled Simi into this, Mr. Fu. I'm talking to her. I kept my head down. No problem. Out of the corner of my eye, Fu Yu kept staring at me. After a long while, he tossed the documents back onto the desk with a light thud. Good. The man's hand flashed past my sight. But it didn't stop me from seeing the ring on his ring finger. When we got married, Fu Yu and I each bought a pair of wedding rings. He had his secretary pick them out. The diamond was a large, flawless cut, beautifully crafted and expensive. Mine cost 3 months' salary, had no diamond, but the design was unique and pretty. However, because of our secret marriage, he rarely wore either pair. Now, seeing him wear it again, I just couldn't understand. After Fu Yu left, a colleague sighed. No wonder he was so pissed. See that? He's wearing a ring. The guy's got a wife. From now on, don't joke around with him about Director Cheng. No way, that can't be. Never heard of it, never saw it. That ring is probably just for show. The company has so many events every year, and he's never brought his wife. Plus, his rumor with Chengyao has been going on for so long without clarification, and they even traveled abroad together. If he were really married, he'd have to be completely dismissive of his wife.
True.
Fu Yu seemed very busy these past few days. At night, he stayed directly at the apartment near the company. I couldn't find a chance to discuss the divorce agreement with him, so I had to find a law firm to draft one myself first. That day, the project I was working on wrapped up smoothly. I ordered some desserts to treat my colleagues to afternoon tea. By the time I finished the final handover and returned to the department, the desserts were already all gone. Someone mentioned it. Mr. Fu's daughter just came by for a stroll. I saw there was still a box of peanut pudding left, so I gave it to her. I immediately stood up. Did she eat it? Yeah, she ate it. When I found Duan, there were already red rashes on her body from the allergy. She reached out to scratch them, but I stopped her. Don't scratch, you'll break the skin and get infected. Duan was still a bit uncomfortable when she saw me, letting out a soft, oh. Both Fu Yu and Chengyao were in meetings. Without much hesitation, I took her hand and rushed to the hospital. While waiting for the elevator, I looked down at her. Duan, why would you eat something randomly when you know you're allergic to peanuts? She pressed her lips together and stayed silent. Not until we got into the taxi. The little girl leaned against the car window, her back to me, speaking softly. Because that uncle said you bought it for me. Before, at home, every time you made me cake and I ate it, you would be very happy. I thought if you were happy, maybe you wouldn't dislike me so much. Her voice grew quieter toward the end, obviously feeling awkward saying these things, not fitting her cool persona. But my focus was entirely on the first sentence. You misheard. You must have thought bought by me meant bought for her. How could I have bought you peanut butter knowing you're allergic to peanuts? She turned around. Have you always remembered my peanut allergy? I thought you forgot, so I bought it. Her surprised expression left me puzzled. What's so surprising about such a trivial matter? Of course I remember, I said. She seemed a little happy but held back from smiling. She just sat a bit closer to me. After getting out of the car, we still had to walk a bit. I was anxious to take her to the hospital, so I walked a bit fast. I didn't notice her panting until we stopped at the traffic light to cross the street. She was trying hard to keep up with my pace. I reached out my hand to her. How about I carry you? No need. She stepped back, looking at my belly with concern. You just got out of the hospital. You're not in good shape. The light turned green, so I chose to simply lift her up. Then I explained to her. I've been fine for a while, don't worry. Only then did she carefully wrap her arms around my neck. I'm a bit heavy. Don't worry, I can carry you. The doctor prescribed medicine and also applied it to Duan's wound, so she wasn't in as much pain anymore. Outside the hospital, she and I sat on a bench. Even though I had already roughly guessed the answer, I still wanted to confirm. Duan, why did you want me to get rid of the baby in my belly before? She remained silent, staring at the tips of her shoes. I didn't urge her. After who knows how long, she parted her lips. Cece said that her mom stopped loving her after she had another baby. Cece is a new friend she made. And this new child has been hurting you all along. Her voice was soft and sticky. The words she used were very childlike. It seems like it's been slowly eating you up inside your belly. Your belly keeps getting bigger, but Granny Tang says you're getting thinner and weaker. That makes me dislike it even more. She kept her head down the whole time. Plop, 2 teardrops fell onto her leg as she continued. I wanted to disappear, but I don't want you to get hurt. If you really like it a lot, I'll try really, really hard to like it too.
I really didn't mean it that day.
You lost so much blood, it must have hurt a lot. I'm sorry, it's all my fault. Her halting apology was mixed with small sobs. I pulled her onto my lap and wiped her tears with a tissue.
I don't blame you anymore, Duan.
She only cried even louder. I wanted to visit you in the hospital, but Mom wouldn't let me. She said you must hate me and would be even angrier if you saw me. On Saturday, I went to pottery class and made a little cat. After it was fired, I wanted to give it to you, but I accidentally broke it. You said you didn't want to see me, so I was even more afraid to apologize to you. I'm sorry, it's all my fault. They were right. I'm just a bad kid. I didn't expect her to remember that I like cats. That was back when I first married Fuyu. It's been a long time. I wanted to keep a cat, but Fuyu wouldn't allow it because Duan is also allergic to cat fur. So I stopped being around cats often, afraid that I'd bring cat fur home and irritate Duan. I held her a little tighter, lowering my head to rub against her cheek. The fine fuzz on her cheek was soft. I patiently coaxed her. It's okay, I really don't blame you anymore. You didn't mean it, Duan, so you're not a bad kid. Your intentions were good, you were worried about me. She gradually stopped crying, but she was still sobbing in fits and starts. Spring had already been here for a long time. This was the first time I truly felt warmth since my miscarriage. It came from Duan's little hands hugging me back. She kept worrying that I would hate her. Because I was looking forward to the baby in my belly, she would also try to learn to love it. Even though she felt that this child would take away some of the love she received. Because she set herself a cool, mature persona, she never said it. But at this moment, I was very certain. She also loved me. She was reciprocating my love. Duan and I talked about many more things. And we inadvertently lost track of time. Until Cheng Yao's gnashing teeth shout. Sin me. The woman's high heels clicked louder and louder as she approached. She walked closer and raised her hand. You actually fed my daughter an allergen. Are you trying to kill her so she can make way for your and Fuyu's future child? Duan quickly hugged me. Mommy, don't hit her. I ate it myself. She didn't know. Seeing this, Cheng Yao's anger grew even fiercer. I had never seen her so beside herself. Her voice was almost hoarse as she yelled. Duan, are you planning to keep taking her side and breaking Mommy's heart? Did Mommy ever tell you that if you drive her away, Mommy can come home, and then both Mommy and Daddy can be with you? Duan flinched, her shoulders hunching. I pulled her behind me. What exactly have you been teaching the child? She's only 5. Telling her this. Do you know you're corrupting her? What does it have to do with you? She's my daughter. You stole my husband, and now you want to steal my daughter too, don't you? She yanked Duan over. Come with Mommy. From now on, I won't allow you to see her again. Cheng Yao walked very quickly, with no regard for the child behind her who couldn't keep up and was being half-dragged along. I was afraid Cheng Yao would hurt her. I was about to step forward to stop her, when Duan, as if sensing my concern, turned back and gave me a small wave. She mouthed the words, "Don't worry, it's okay." Duan has her own phone watch. In the evening, she called me on her watch. I asked if Cheng Yao had hit her, and she said no. But Mom called Dad and said you deliberately fed me peanuts to try to kill me. Did Dad have a quarrel with you? Fuyu hasn't been coming back recently, and he probably won't come back today either. Besides, I don't really care about him coming to accuse me now. After comforting her a bit, I reminded her again, from now on, don't eat anything related to peanuts anymore. Also, you're a bit allergic to mangoes too, so you should eat less, preferably not at all. Don't drink milk on an empty stomach in the morning. It'll give you diarrhea. Got it, Duan? She seemed incredulous. You remember all of this? Aren't these the most important and simplest things? We lived together for over a year. How could I not remember? Her voice dropped. Her words were a bit slurred. Even through the phone, I could picture her curled up on the side of the bed, her chubby cheek pressed against the pillow, squishing her lips into a funny shape. But Mom still doesn't remember that I'm allergic to mangoes. Tonight, there were mangoes in the fruit she gave me, and I picked them out myself. And Mom always puts peanuts in her cooking. The only thing without peanuts is the steamed egg custard. She says Dad likes peanuts, so I have to consider Dad's feelings and just be careful not to eat any when I have other dishes. Fuyu does like peanuts, but it's not like he can't live without them. Since Duan is still young and might accidentally eat them, the housekeeper usually tries to avoid putting peanuts in the dishes. Even if there are some, it's at most 1 or 2 dishes, placed only in front of Fuyu. Cheng Yao is playing favorites a bit too much. I could hear the disappointment in the girl's voice. That doesn't mean Mom doesn't like Duan though. I know. Her voice was young, but her tone was very calm. It's just that she likes Dad more. I fell silent, unable to argue. She yawned and murmured softly. Next birthday, I'll make a wish that someday there will be someone who loves me the most. The person who loves Cece the most is her grandmother, Steven. The person who loves him is his mom and dad. The person who loves Jojo is her uncle and aunt. Then who will be the person who loves me the most? The voice gradually softened, eventually replaced by steady breathing. Duan fell asleep. Good night, Duan. I whispered. That person will definitely appear. Although most likely that person is herself. But in my opinion, there's nothing wrong with that. Loving yourself enough, not placing hope in others, at least you won't be disappointed. I only recently came to understand this truth. Shortly after hanging up with Duan, Fuyu returned. There was no confrontation as I had expected. He lowered his eyes and unbuttoned his coat. Mom is sick. Let's go see her together tomorrow. Fuyu's mother, like his sister, has always been kind to me. I nodded and said okay. Then I remembered the divorce agreement I had drafted halfway. Do you want to take a look and see if anything needs to be added to the agreement? I have an urgent online meeting right now. He glanced at his watch as if he hadn't heard me. I'll be busy in the study late tonight, and after finishing, I'll sleep in the guest room. You go ahead and sleep. No need to wait for me. With that, he strode into the study. I pondered for a moment and didn't insist on following him. I planned to wait until the agreement was drafted before showing it to him. The next day was Saturday. Fuyu and I returned to the Fu family home in the morning. In the afternoon, it started raining and didn't stop, so Mother Fu naturally invited us to stay for the night. I was hesitating, but Fuyu had already agreed. During dinner, he casually mentioned something. so casually that I didn't even react at first. I planned to publicly announce my marriage to Tsinmi at the company. He said it nonchalantly, as if announcing an insignificant matter. Mother Fu smiled and nodded. It's about time. You're legally married. There's nothing to hide. The chopsticks slipped from my hand and fell to the floor. I suppressed my voice and stood up. I'll go get a new pair. At the time, Fu Yu proposed keeping the marriage a secret out of consideration for Cheng Yao. Cheng Yao was in a very bad state after learning that we were getting married. She was listless and spent all her days in bars. Then she submitted her resignation. She said that once people in the company found out about Fu Yu's remarriage, she would become the butt of everyone's gossip. She wouldn't give anyone a chance to mock her. Fu Yu said the company's development couldn't do without Cheng Yao. Cheng Yao couldn't leave. He said the secret marriage was only temporary, and they would go public once Cheng Yao started a new life and found a new partner. But Cheng Yao was always alone. I also forgot when I stopped expecting Fu Yu to make our marriage public. That night, I returned to the room Fu Yu and I shared. I asked him why he suddenly wanted to announce it. The bedroom was a suite, and he was working at his desk. The faint blue light from the computer screen reflected in his pupils. Weren't you always pushing to go public before? Besides, after going public, people like Manager Li will keep their distance from you. Isn't that a form of protection for you? I tapped my temple with a headache. But we're getting a divorce soon. Fu Yu looked at me quietly. Tsinmi, I've already made a concession. Our eyes met, and I read his meaning from his gaze. He had always thought my demand for a divorce was unreasonable. Offering to make our marriage public was his way of coaxing me, a step he took on his own initiative. He was hinting that I should know when to stop. I told him calmly as well. I don't need this kind of concession from you. I just need you to divorce me as soon as possible. And besides, making our marriage public now would only make me more embarrassed. How can you think this is a concession? He closed his laptop. Leaning back in his swivel chair, he said, How so? So, he really didn't realize the problem. I sighed and mimicked what my colleagues would say. How little you must love me. Your scandals with Cheng Yao have been all over the company, and you never cared, never clarified, and even when I was harassed, you still put your interests first. Please don't make it public. I don't want to be mocked by them like this. His voice betrayed no emotion. So you also think I don't love you? I yawned. I don't want to know anymore. Now I only care about when you're willing to divorce me. Unsurprisingly, he chose to stonewall me again and ignored my words. Suddenly unable to bear being in the same room with him, I grabbed a pillow and went to the guest bedroom. I've already prepared for the worst, filing for divorce. The next day, on our way home, while waiting for a red light, I accidentally caught sight of a woman setting up a stall by the roadside. I called out to the driver, "Pull over at the curb ahead." I got out of the car in a hurry and said to Fu Yu, "You go back first. I still have something to take care of." The woman at the stall was Sister Chen, the cleaner I met during my recent hospitalization. I walked over. "Sister Chen, why are you setting up a stall here? Did you quit your job at the hospital?" She looked much more haggard than 2 months ago. You're the girl who had another major hemorrhage after the miscarriage." Fu Yu had somehow followed me. His voice tightened. "What do you mean by another major hemorrhage?" Sister Chen looked at him. "Oh, you're this girl's husband, right? Not to be harsh, but you're too irresponsible. How could you let her be hospitalized alone? The nanny does come to see me every day, but most of the time, she's at home taking care of Duan. After the DC surgery, I thought it wasn't a big deal, so I didn't think to hire another nanny. That day, I went downstairs alone for a walk and unknowingly ended up in a secluded corner, sitting on a bench in a daze. That was the coldest day of the week. My stomach got chilled, and I felt a dull pain, which snapped me back to reality. I stood up to return to the inpatient ward, but after a few steps, I felt blood flowing again down below. The pain intensified, and I couldn't stand after walking just a little distance. I had no choice but to crouch down and hold my stomach to ease the pain. Later, I seemed to go numb from the pain, and my consciousness grew drowsy. Before I completely fainted, Sister Chen, who was there to take out the trash, found me. She carried me back to the ward. The doctor re-examined me and said it was some post-operative infection. I was forced to stay in the hospital for another week. Sister Chen sighed and said to Fu Yu, "You don't know how pale her face was at that time. Her pants were covered in blood, and I was terrified when I saw it. I really dare not think that if I had found her a little later, her life might have been in danger. Fuyu's hands hanging by his sides were clenched and trembling. His bulging veins made the back of his hands look even more pale. I changed the subject. Sister Chin, you still haven't told me why you're here setting up a stall. Oh, my son is sick. I'm still 200,000 short for the surgery fee. The hospital pays a fixed salary, too low. It's not as fast as my stall to make money. I took out my phone from my bag to transfer money to her. But Fuyu had already handed her a card. There's 500,000 in this card. He paused, seeming to finally realize that communicating like this was too arrogant, and added, I hope you'll accept it, Sister Chen. It's also my thanks for saving my wife. Sister Chen politely declined a few times. In the end, she decided to only accept 200,000 and insisted on writing an IOU, treating it as a loan from Fuyu. We got back in the car again. We fell back into a state of silence. As we neared home, Fuyu suddenly spoke. Why didn't you tell me? Before, you would talk to me for ages when you sprained your foot. I shook my head. I just forgot. He let out a quiet, muted laugh. You didn't forget. You just didn't think it was necessary to tell me. He asked, Sinmi, have I disappointed you that much? I watched the rapidly receding scenery outside the window and didn't answer. At first, I really did forget. But by the time I remembered him, I was almost healed and about to be discharged, so I felt it wasn't necessary to bring it up. The car fell back into silence. I could faintly hear the sound of tires rolling over the road. The driver steadily pulled the car into the parking lot. I opened the door and got out. Fuyu remained sitting in the car, not moving. Sinmi, I turned to look at him. Half of his body was hidden in the shadows, making it impossible to read his expression. Draft the divorce agreement and send it to me for review. I was stunned for a moment before saying, okay. 2 days later, I received the divorce agreement. After reading it and finding no issues, I sent it to Fuyu. His lawyer reviewed it and had no objections either. After signing, we set a time to go to the Civil Affairs Bureau.
That was just how Fuyu was.
Once he agreed to something, he would follow through. Pestering wasn't his style. The day we went to the Civil Affairs Bureau was scheduled for the morning. I had just arrived when I got a call from Fuyu. Sorry, there was a small accident on my way. Can we reschedule to the afternoon? He glossed over it lightly. I thought it was nothing serious, too. It wasn't until I saw him in the afternoon, with a bandage wrapped around his forehead, that I realized he had driven himself today. He had crashed his car into a guardrail on the road. I was a little surprised. He wasn't the type to get distracted while driving. He was a man so calm, he was almost indifferent. During the 1-month cooling-off period, he and I lived just as before, going to work, getting off work, and working overtime. The decisions he made in meetings were still logical and forward-thinking. The only slight difference was that the redness in his eyes seemed to grow more and more. 3 weeks into the cooling-off period, I sent him a message to remind him. 1 week left. Don't forget to clear that day in advance. Maybe he was busy, and it took him a long time to reply with a simple, okay. Manager Lee held a grudge against me after having his year-end bonus docked. In our day-to-day work, whenever he was involved, he'd usually throw obstacles in my way. But they were minor annoyances, so I didn't make a big deal out of it.
So he started to escalate things.
That noon, he had quite a bit to drink at a business dinner. On his way back, he ran into me just as I was coming out of the restroom. He cornered me by the sink. Xiao, Sin been getting shots lately? You're looking prettier again. I caught the strong smell of alcohol on him and didn't dare to provoke him. Manager Lee, I still have a document to review, so I'll head back first. What's the rush? He blocked me again. Manager Lee, my voice carried a warning tone. There were people not far away. I didn't want to embarrass myself again. He let out a drunken burp and snorted with a laugh. I just secured a major project for the company, you know? Right now, even Fuyu has to treat me like royalty, let alone anyone else. Besides, what could I possibly do to you? I'm a law-abiding citizen, just trying to build some camaraderie with a colleague. As he spoke, he grabbed my wrist and grinned. Don't mention it, your skin is pretty soft, he said, rubbing his thumb over my wrist. A wave of revulsion crept up my skin. After what happened last time, I started carrying pepper spray with me. I was glad I had it on me now. After spraying his face a few times, he finally let go in pain. I ran out a few steps and panically bumped into someone's arms. It was the unique woody scent of amber oak that belonged to Fuyu. He pressed my shoulders and scanned me up and down, his eyes suddenly turning cold. Lead me on again? What did he do to you? After asking, his gaze shifted to Manager Lee, who was just about to chase after me. I had never seen Fuyu like this before. Brutal, full of aggression, completely losing his mind. Soon, the sink area was crowded with people, but no one dared to pull Fuyu away. When Qingyao arrived, she was also shocked by his state. She hissed at me in a low, vicious tone. "This is all your fault." Fuyu pressed Manager Lee's head against the mirror again. His voice was eerily calm, sending chills down one's spine. "I remember warning you last time to stay away from her." Manager Lee had no strength left to resist, breathing feebly. "So, it was you who attacked me in the parking lot last time." Fuyu had punched him countless times. Ignoring the varied stares from the crowd, I called out to stop him. "Fuyu, stop hitting him." He didn't react. I had to walk over and grab his arm. As if afraid of hurting me, he barely halted his movements. I tried to pull him away, but couldn't budge him. Instead, he pulled me back in front of him. "I'll fire him. I have nothing to do with Qingyao anymore, and I've clarified it at the company." There were a few bloody scratches on his face, caused by the broken glass shards from the mirror just now. His misty dark eyes looked down at me. "If you have any other grievances, speak up. I'll solve them one by one until you're satisfied. Until you no longer want to divorce me." There was a clamor all around. Qingyao bit her lower lip hard, her eyes reddening. Before tears could fall, she walked away steadily in her high heels. I struggled against his grip. "Now is not the time to talk about this. But I only want to talk about this." Another round of struggle ensued. Fuyu finally let go of me, because he fainted under extreme mental tension. Fuyu was taken to the hospital. I went to the police station to report the case and give a statement. During this, 2 other girls came forward saying Manager Lee had harassed them too, and they went to file a report with me. The follow-up was handled by Fuyu's lawyer. He told me not to worry. President Fu instructed that he would definitely be put away. In the evening, after everything was done, I finally went to the hospital. The doctor said he fainted due to long hours of high-intensity work and being overly stimulated emotionally today. Pushing open the ward door, he was leaning against the headboard, turning his head to look out the window. The view outside the window was almost completely blocked by a tree that stood very close. I didn't know what he was still looking at. "Sinmi." He didn't turn around. "Many people came to see me all afternoon. Every time I saw it wasn't you, I felt disappointed once more. I thought he was blaming me for coming too late." Fuyu's voice dropped low.
I'm sorry.
"I should have been with you when you were in the hospital then. I'm really not a good enough lover." I didn't want to accept his remorse and reflection. "Thank you for today, but we two should just call it quits." His face still a bit pale, he lightly lifted the corner of his lips. "You came to see me because you're afraid I'll change my mind and not want a divorce." I stayed silent. "I won't." He looked at me with a gaze so focused it was as if he could only see me in the whole world. "After all, this is the last thing you still have expectations of me for." Before leaving, I remembered something and advised him again. "Duan is a bit starved for love. You're no longer a qualified lover, but at least be a qualified father. Not being good at expressing yourself is not an excuse. You have to make her feel your love for her." Fuyu hummed in acknowledgement. "Duan really likes you. Come see her more often when you have time." I opened my mouth to speak. "Maybe I can't anymore." A fashion design school abroad that I've always dreamed of has reopened its enrollment. I plan to resign and prepare for the entrance exam. If I get admitted, I won't be coming back for the next few years." Fuyu was silent for a long time. "She'll be heartbroken." I gripped the strap of my bag tightly. I still hadn't figured out how to say goodbye to Duan. A week later, Fuyu and I got our divorce certificate. My resignation was also approved. Now I had to go say goodbye to Duan. On the day the whole company found out Fuyu and I were married, Qingyao also resigned. And she left the city the day after her resignation. She never thought of taking Duan with her. Duan said Qingyao told her to stay with Fuyu and later get control of all his assets. In case he remarried someone else and had children, then all his property would go to outsiders, leaving her with nothing. Before leaving, Qingyao hugged her and cried, "Mommy doesn't not love you. But continuing like this, Mom is too miserable. There's no possibility between me and your dad anymore. There's no point in staying here. I have to start a new life." Duan, from now on, you have to take care of yourself.
Duan didn't cry.
She patted my shoulder with her small hand. Mom, you should be happier from now on. This time was the same. After hearing the news that I was leaving, she just sat there blankly. After a long while, she tugged at my sleeve. I'm about to graduate from the pottery class at the hobby center. Tomorrow is the last parent-child activity of the hobby class. Dad is on a business trip. Can you pretend to be my mom and come with me? I looked at her in surprise. Won't your classmates realize I'm an imposter? She sat on the bench and swung her legs.
No.
Mom and Dad have never come to any parent-child activity at the hobby center. My classmates have never seen them, so they don't know what my parents look like. I agreed. She turned to look at me and gave a small smile. But she didn't seem very happy. The parent-child activity was held indoors for the first half of the day. Duan and I molded a little cat together. In the second half, the venue moved to the lawn outside. From kangaroo jumps to parent-child jump rope to tail grabbing. I gave it my all in every event. I placed in the top 3 in every one. A little girl ran over. Wow, Duan, your mom is so amazing. Duan smiled so hard her eyes turned into slits. Yeah, she's amazing. The parent-child activity ended as the sun set. The sky was now between light and dark. A chilly evening breeze brushed past the withered branches that had yet to sprout, adding a touch of bleakness to this farewell. She held my hand. You're just like Cinderella. Once the sun sets and the magic disappears, you're no longer my mom. She looked up and reached out her hand to me. Can you hold me one more time? I pulled her into my arms. I buried my head in her small shoulder, struggling to hold back tears, afraid of making her cry too. From now on, if I'm not around, make sure to pay extra attention to the things I've told you, okay? I won't eat peanuts or mangoes anymore. I reached out and rubbed her soft little cheek. And also, don't always think of yourself as a bad kid. Duan is lovely and wonderful. In the future, there will surely be many people who like you. Don't doubt yourself just because of some people's temporary opinions. She seemed to half understand the latter part, but she understood the first part and obediently nodded. Her eyes curved into crescents. In a month, it'll be my birthday. This year, I'll give you my birthday wish. I asked, don't you want to wish for the person who loves you the most to appear? It's okay, I can wait. I can make the wish when I turn 7. I can wait one more year for that person. She wrapped her little hands around my neck. Her warm breath lingered by my ear. I wish that you will have a new baby someday. He is well-behaved, won't make you angry, won't make you worry, and will love your cakes. He is not allergic to cat fur, so you can raise a kitten together in the future. Most importantly, he loves you too. Do you like him? I cleared my throat, swallowing down the choking feeling. Yes, I do. Thank you, Duan. If he's so good, will you still remember me in the future? Of course I will. I love you too. She was no longer as awkward as before. She gently kissed my cheek. I love you too.